Fantastic. All right, guys. So I am super pumped up to have Miss Alicia Andrade on the call with us tonight. You guys, she is one of our very own within FFL Domination, FFL International Empire, and FFL Promise, and soon to have her own logo. You guys, she's absolutely crushing it with her best month ever last month, and she's going to teach us exactly how to do it. So Alicia, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to get on with us.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate being on.
So Alicia, most of the people on our team are going to know who you are because you're a complete powerhouse. But for anybody who's new to the call or is a new agent and might not know your backstory, can you give us like the rundown of how you got to FFL, how long you've been here, and what you were doing before?
100%. So I've been with FFL for just about a year now, which is so crazy. I did come from a captive agency and I was really nervous to make the switch, and I didn't believe, I thought it was like, this is too good to be true. So I watched a couple agents move over and make a crazy amount of money. And then Stephanie McBride, I was like, I'm just going to wait and see how she does. And then she dropped like 40K in her first month. And I was like, all right, I'm coming over. So I made the switch, and I think I was like kind of nervous to like see my whole potential. Obviously like dialing was super scary, but I came from a place where we didn't have, like we had leads, but they were like recycled and just really, really bad leads. And we had to do bait and switch. So I wasn't able to be like upfront and be like, hey, I'm calling you about life insurance. I had to like tell them I was like doing something else. I don't know. It was just really weird. So when I came over, it was really nice to be able to like reach out to people that wanted life insurance and actually come like sit in their home or do it over the phone and kind of help them figure out what they needed and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. It's like thinking back now, I feel like it was like forever ago. But yeah, so I came over, started working. And I kind of was dabbling with, well, I'm a pilot, so I was like flying sometimes, and then I was still doing this, and I just wasn't able to see the success that I wanted to. So then I kind of went full in and just started kind of reaping the benefits of the system, doing travel trips, learning from other people, talking to different top producers, and then have just continued to grow since then. So it's been an awesome journey.
Yeah, girl. Well, you've been absolutely crushing it, and you crushed it before, but then came out of the gate last month and 35 families protected. So I want to kind of like, and that was only 4 weeks. So I want to kind of talk about like going back. You said that you were at a different agency and you came over here and you realized like how different the opportunities were. I was lucky enough to start with Family First Life in my insurance career. Do you think that like the new agents sometimes that start here don't realize like how good we have this opportunity?
Oh my God, 100%. Like just so I don't know. So, I mean, like in terms of families, I think I protected 9 families in like 7 months when I was with the other company. And I was like, okay, I'm struggling. I need to find something different. And then within my first 10 days, protected 8 families at FFL. And I was like, shit, this is real. I don't know if I can say recording.
You already said it. So it's all good. But I do think that as well. And I never realized that because I didn't have to, have a practice company or come anywhere else besides Family First Life. But hearing everybody's stories that ended up coming over here, it's kind of like, guys, if you can't make money here, like you can't make money anywhere in the insurance industry because this is the best vehicle and the best resources, the leads, the comp, everything about it. So, Alicia, you said that it was too good to be true. And that's exactly how I thought. And I think that's what a lot of people think. What about it? Like, did you think was too good to be true? And how did you switch that mindset to realizing like, this is something we have to take advantage of?
Yeah. So when I got out of my first, because of bait and switch, it just feels like it felt a little sketchy. I didn't feel like great, like going into appointments. So I was super nervous to go to my first home, and I'm like sitting with this guy and I'm like, okay, like here are your 3 options. And I'm like sitting back, like freaking out. And he was like, oh, well, why would we not go with the highest option? Like I'm trying to protect my wife and make sure that I'm okay when I pass away. And I mean, I need this. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So like I cried when I left because I was like, oh my God, I love this. It was just so different to like actually meet somebody's needs instead of trying to convince them that they needed this. They want it. So I think like the proof is in the pudding when you have like people that actually want it and you're reaching out to them. And he was just, he was a 1-month-old lead. Like it wasn't like it wasn't like, a miracle or anything. He was a 1-month-old lead. Called him, set the appointment, went to his house. He got insurance, and 30 minutes later I walked out and I was in tears, which is so funny to say now. But It is. It's easy. It's so much easier than other things. And you can sit there and build somebody else's dream and make somebody else money all you want. But once you realize that you can build your own dream here quickly, easily, and as long as, oh, I was telling Sophia earlier, it's not difficult work. It's just diligent work. Once you stay diligent and work hard, it's not difficult. Like, we're not in a field, we're not trying to do a bunch of, crazy mathematics or anything like that. We're literally just sitting down, helping a client, finding their need and filling that need.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm writing that down. It's diligent work, not difficult. I think that's huge. Okay. And Alicia, and we're going to get into your lead flow in a minute. So don't answer about your lead flow, but you were at a company where you didn't have to buy leads, and then you come here and then we're like, you need to buy some leads. That was obviously pretty uncomfortable. How did you navigate that? And like, what's your mindset around the leads? And you kind of touched on this, but.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I was super nervous to buy leads, and it felt like a lot of money. That was like, cause I didn't have any money. So I was like $500 or $1,000 on leads. Like you're nuts. And then, so like, obviously this past month, I spent most on leads I ever had, but I made the most that I've ever had. So I've ever made. So, it's just like changing the mindset. Like, the more that you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And that's it with everything in life, like relationships, like work, whatever you do, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. So you think about like investing in your business. So I was super nervous in the beginning, thought it was a bunch of money, and then started doing what the top producers tell you to do. and then I made the most money I ever had. So it's switching the mindset. I think after you get that first, I was just talking about this too, like once you get your first $1,000, invest that back in, and then you do that with the next $1,000 and the next $1,000. Like, just think of it like you always keep that $1,000 to the side of anything that you make, so that you're just never having to reinvest money. It's just that $1,000 is going back into leads. And I didn't think like that in the beginning. I started making money and I was like, cool, now I have money. I'm going to pay off all this debt. And I was like, I know I don't have money for leads. So you have to make sure that you are putting your business first. I think it's John Wetmore. He was like, I just went into a bunch of debt. And he was like, and I just kept my debt there. He's like, I didn't worry about paying off the debt right away because I knew what I was going to do for my business and how big I was going to grow that. And by the time, he's an integrity partner now. So he's like, doesn't have to worry about anything. You know what I mean? So it's just about like reinvesting that and not looking back after you do that. Keeping that mindset of, I'm just going to reinvest this portion. And then once you make more and more and you get better at your skills, putting 1,500 or 2,000 into leads isn't going to seem like a lot, but then you just reinvest that and continue growing on that level.
Yeah. It's crazy that you talk about like the perspective on money too. And I'm like, can't wait until every new agent on this call gets that. Like, Alicia, 2 years ago, if I had $1,000 in my bank account, I literally thought like, dude, like my life is made. Like, I'm like rich. Like that's how I saw money, because I never had any money. So it was like 1,000. Now I'm like, dude, $1,000. I'm like, dude, that's what just are my lead investment. Like, this is half of my lead investment a week. Like, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's for bills. That's for my one bill, which is crazy to think about. And that's where I want like everyone to be able to look at this on like a bigger scale and trusting the process. Like you said, like John Wetmore was like, dude, I know I have debt over here. I know I have stuff. And something that someone told me right when I came in too was like, if you have, and I know this is crazy and I'm not necessarily advising this, so don't quote me on this, but they told me, I think it might've been Grady. He was like, Marissa, if you have to pay your rent or you have to buy leads a couple days before, I always advise you to buy leads. Cause if you pay your rent, fantastic, but it doesn't make you any money. Your rent doesn't make you any money. But if you buy $1,000 of leads and then you could turn that into 6, 7 families on your one family investment, like the leads make you money, paying your bills doesn't, right? So make your money now and pay your bills later, which I thought was crazy, but running a business, it starts to make sense. So one thing I've never heard you do, Alicia, is ever be negative about leads. You've never said they didn't answer, these leads suck, nothing like that. Talk about that and why you're not ever negative about that.
Well, okay. I partially probably because of the leads that I had that were like 3-year-old recycle referral leads off of what somebody else had sold or protected a family. And then they got a referral, left the company. And then I was working that referral. So I'm like, those were really bad leads, but I still got to talk to families. And so when you go from that to actually sitting with somebody who wants it or filled something out themselves, it's totally different. And I just think like, I also was So I had a therapy practice before I came into the insurance space, and like I did grief and trauma. And so I talked to a lot of families where somebody passed away, or it was a mom that never worked and dad died, and now they have absolutely nothing, and they're, about to be homeless. So when I'm talking to families and I'm like, this is real. Like, I'm not just trying to, they're like, oh, are you selling me something? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm trying to make sure that you're in a better spot. Why would I leave you with more stress when my job is to take that stress off the table? So I think, like, no matter what, no matter who I'm calling, I'm just like, okay, this is another opportunity. This is another family. And you drive around, like once you're in the business for a little bit, you start driving around or walking around. You're like, hey, that's a potential client. That's a potential client. And so everybody's a new opportunity. And then like when you're on the phones, like, I mean, people hang up, people are rude. There's rude people out there. And you might even go to their home after you door knock them, after you dial them. And they're the sweetest people ever. The hardest people to book are usually your best clients. That sounds terrible, but they are. I'm super mean. If people call me that, I don't know. I'm like, take me off your list. Like, why are you calling me? And if I met somebody in person that was like, oh, I'm trying to get a hold of you because of this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's totally not me at all. So I understand that. But everybody that you call is either a new opportunity or your leeway to your next opportunity. So you have to like just keep going. And like people get bogged down after a couple calls. It's like, well, that next call could be your best sale. I was like, okay, like it's a Saturday, I'm going to have a pool day. And I decided to bring this was like a couple months ago. I decided to bring my computer down to the pool, and I was just like dialing. And I had a couple agents with me, and I was like, well, I'll go to 200 dials. So I went to 200 and I was like, I'm just for shits and gigs, I'm going to do 201. So I did 201. She was the sweetest lady ever. Her son owns a bank, but she's like, but I don't want him to worry about anything. So ended up getting like a really good size policy. And I was like, it was literally that one more call. I could have got bogged down by the 200 that I already dialed, but that one more call and I made my goal. It's like, just keep going.
And that is the way of the universe too. It's always the last call after you've got hung up on that, like, it's truly, it's like God in the universe just rewards you for that 201st call or that 301st call or that last appointment, guys. I cannot tell you, and Alicia can attest to this too, because I know she had a banger like not that long ago where like you go in the field and you get your butt kicked sometimes, guys. It's the reality of the business. Sometimes you're going to sit with 10 people and 10 people are not going to buy from you. That's okay. But it's like the 11th appointment. Like it's the one that you don't want to go to. It's like 8 p.m. at night. And you're like, oh, I got my butt kicked all day today. I'm tired. And everyone no-showed me. This guy's probably going to no-show me too. And you go and you close it for like 7 families in one home. And I know that's happened to you.
Oh yeah. It was a Sunday. It was like a couple weeks ago. And I was like running appointments all Sunday morning. And I sat with some really just people that were like, no, I don't care. My kids can bury me in the backyard kind of people. And so I'm like, okay, well, whatever. So I'm sitting in front of this house. This guy had already rescheduled my last appointment of the day, already rescheduled me twice. And I'm like, I really don't even want to. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not home. And I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm 30 minutes away. I'm like, okay, awesome. So I was like, I guess I'll just wait. I really want to close this out. I really want to make sure that I at least show him his options. So I ended up sitting with him and talked forever about random things because I love old people are my favorite, but ended up doing 10 families in one home with just that guy. And that was my last appointment Sunday. I was going to go home, like do my grocery shopping, all that kind of stuff. But I was like, literally made a quarter of a year that I would have as a therapist in an hour. So it's like, why not? Yeah. Always go to your last appointment. It's like the law. It is. It's so true.
No, you always have to go to your last appointment because that is the one that's going to test you. So, and that's the one you're going to come out on top. So Alicia, another thing I want to talk about. So, and you kind of alluded to this, guys, Alicia does a lot of stuff. Okay. She's a pilot. She's in flight school or already went to flight school. Not really sure because she's so crazy. She used to be in therapy, trauma therapy, things like that, guys. She's done and does a lot of stuff. And I want to talk to Alicia about like how you make that happen, how you make everything a priority. When is this a priority? Because a lot of people, and I'm going to let you talk about this on how your advice for new agents that want to come in part-time or they have other stuff going on. But the reality is like, guys, everyone has what you have, if not more, right? So like, I'm a mom, so I can't do this, or, I'm a dad, or I can't do this, or I have flight school, I can't do this, or I have another job, so I can't do this. You have a lot of stuff and you still protected 35 families last month. So how does that happen?
So, okay, I'm super crazy. So you guys can take with it what you want. I actually wrote everything down because I was like, I knew you're gonna ask something about this, but I'm super big on self-care. Like mindset is everything to me. So if my mindset's not right and I know I need to do something for myself first, I do. But because I know that, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning every morning and I take that time to myself. So now I was finishing up 75 hard last month, and that definitely helped me like keep my mind right. But I just want to tell, so I read You're a Badass at Making Money. That was a great, great book to read while I was doing this. It was amazing. 2 workouts a day, no drinking, all of my meals, and we talk about this all the time. So all my meals are meal prepped. And then, so I have meals ready to take with me into the field. So I'm sitting there in between stuff, if I have like stop at a Starbucks to die a little bit, I still have my lunch that I made and I'm eating it there. Like I have everything ready to go. And then when I get back from the field, I have that. So I have my dinner ready. Like it's really nice to have that routine for yourself if you can meal prep, to make sure that you have all that. Yes, Jen Sincero, she's awesome. And then, so I do a lot of personal stuff come up. I have family stuff come up, my school stuff, whatever. I stay forward focused. So I'm never like looking back and I'm like I give myself like 10, 15 minutes to be upset about it. And then I get over it because like my whole thing is, and probably again, because of therapy, but when I think about like, we're never promised tomorrow. If I looked back on today and today was my last day, would I be proud of what I did today? So, there's times that like you have distractions come up or friends want to do stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to put work first, or I have to put other things first so that I can make sure that I can still do that and make that a priority. So it was like my friend's surprise birthday party. And I was like, I really want to go. I'm not going to be there when she gets surprised, but I'm going to go into the field, still hit my, 7 appointments that I wanted to do for that Saturday, and still was able to do that. And then got up the next morning and went to all my appointments. So just keeping on a schedule and making sure that you have, your time blocked out and not keeping yourself distracted is huge, because you could spend hours on social media or talking to friends or whatever. But when you're on the phone with a friend, should be the same thing. Like when you're on the phone, like if it's a real friend, you should be able to be like, hey, I've got things to do. I'm working right now, or I've got a goal that I haven't hit. If it's a real friend, they're going to get off the phone. If it's not a real friend, they're going to be like, no, they want to be selfish and take up more of your time. Then you probably need to get that person out of your life. It sounds really mean, but
you guys need new friends.
Get people that want to see you hit your goals. And like, if your best friend's like, oh, we haven't talked in forever, you're like, well, wait until I hit this goal and then I'll give you a call, or text her and be like, hey, or him and be like, hey, we'll talk at another time. Or this is what I'm doing right now. I love you so much, but I got to do this. And like when I had like my best friend, she was like really sad because I didn't call her like all last month, but I was like, oh, I'll like send, like I made all this money. So I'm like, I'm going to send her a little gift. Cause I'm like, that's the kind of person that I am, but you still know your priority in my life without me having to be like, hey, I don't want to spend 2 hours on the phone. I want to work. Yeah. So that's kind of how I structure my day.
Yeah. And the reality is, and that's all huge. Like everything that you do in your personal is going to bleed into your business. Like if you're not getting up early, guys, you probably are losing 2-3 hours a day, to be honest. And you don't have to be crazy like Alicia and get up at 4:30, but like if you're not up by 6, it's too late, guys. Like every person, and I know that seems like cliche, like Instagram quote, whatever, but the reality is like the people who I have seen be successful in this business, they don't sleep till 10. And the thing that killed me in the beginning of this business is I was sleeping till 10. You know what I mean? So like that stuff does bleed it. And the reality is, guys, and is everyone has stuff. Every person that you saw on the leaderboard that did 30 families math month or is on track to do 40, they all have stuff. They have kids, they have families, they have school, they're in college, they have things come up. Like the reality is like this opportunity is going to be everything that you make it. Like you're either going to make it or you're not. And either way, it's going to be a reflection of you. It's not going to be a reflection of the leads. It's not going to be a reflection of the system. It's going to be a reflection of, did you sacrifice anything? Did you give it your time? Did you get up earlier? Did you, get discouraged after 2 people hung up on you, or did you keep going? Did you go to your last appointment? Like Alicia said. So Alicia, before this, you did really good last month and you've been doing really good, but last month you killed it. And this month you're killing it. Was there something that like flipped a switch for you?
So, well, in May, it was the end of May. I went to the integrity office and things just got real for me. I think I was like, wow, this isn't just like, not comparing it to, but not that I thought it was this, but it's not like a little like dessert shop. Like, it's not like a small business that you're like, oh, I've always wanted to do this. Like the opportunity here is insane. And I think seeing it in real life was just like like, what am I even doing? Not hitting my goals. Having that integrity opportunity means a lot to me. So I think being able to, push myself a little bit harder. Sorry. So I just got a kitten and she loves to show up into the Zoom calls. But I think just like it was that. And then thinking like that's now part of, like, some people are like, why your why is part of what you do in this business. It's your family, it's your friends, it's what you want to do in the future. Like integrity is now part of my why. So I'm like, okay, if I want to wake up every morning and I want to be like an integrity partner, like I need to do some of the things that they're doing. I need to integrate some of the things that they're saying and showing us what to do. So yeah, I think that kind of clicked for me. And I think, I do reach out to Marissa and Tobe when I need help with strategy calls or anything like that. And it's really helpful when you just integrate what they're saying. Like, it's not hard. It's just hard going from that daily habit, but like just add things in one at a time so that it becomes part of your habits instead of it having to be like, you're not changing your whole lifestyle one day. Like you're adding things in that you want to do to make you a top producer, to make you a better person.
Yeah, I think that's huge too, Alicia. It's like being in a place to receive coaching and receive help, right? Like everyone's in a different place, but like so many times we ask each other like, hey, what can I do better? And we tell each other, like, I'm like, hey, Alicia, what can I do better? And you're like, Marissa, you can dial the phone 300 times. And I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever it takes, but I won't dial the phone 300 times, so it's like, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Someone tells you what to do. Like we've told you over and over again, this is the blueprint for success here. If you don't follow the blueprint, like you're not in a place to receive the coaching, then like we can't help you, right? So that is huge, guys. Being open to being coached, being able to ask for help, and when someone gives you advice, no matter who it is, whether you trust them, whatever not, is being able to take that and finding the people that you trust that advice from, right? Whether that's someone you relate to, whether that's Alicia, me, Tobe, your manager, maybe you don't relate to your manager and you want to reach out and ask somebody else. That's super important too. Because like there's so many people that will say, I'm willing to do anything for my life and my family and to make more money. And then you tell them what to do and they're like, well, yeah, except for that though. I'm not really willing to like get up at 5 a.m. Like that would be kind of crazy. So it's like, you're not willing to do anything, So I think that's super huge too. Alicia, talk about but you've done telesales, you've done in-home. What's your advice for new agents or really just any agents at all on where they should be and who should do which?
So I would say when you're a new agent, just go in home. I know it's scary and kind of weird, but just do it. If you're not only like, I don't even suggest doing telesales unless you're like comfortable with the applications. It's way easier to fill out an application in person and do it for the first time in person than it is over the phone. And then once you have the apps down, and then like I was going to say, I always meet my clients where they're at. So if you have an older person that's really COVID crazy, just say, okay, perfect. I can actually do this over the phone for you right now. Do you have a minute to do this now? I have that in my script. Do you have a minute to get this taken care of now? So you can do it that way. But I really believe, and going back in home has been huge, because not only are you able to connect with your clients, relationships are everything. You're selling yourself. You're not selling the product. I mean, you can, but like, then they're going to cancel it because they're like, oh, I can share my script. But it's like, it's just not the same. And I realized when I was doing only telesales too, that if somebody was going to pass me on the street and they were my client, I would know who they are. And if their partner, their kids are going to call me when they die, like, and I don't know what they even look like it just didn't feel right to me. So I like going back in home, but I do obviously meet my clients where they're at. If they need to do it right now and they want to do it right now and they really want it, yeah, let's do it over the phone. But if I have some people that are like, yeah, I want to do it, but can you call me later? And I'm like, no, but will it be home at 5? Yeah. I get home at 5:30. Perfect. You know what? Let me don't try to book it as soon as they get home, because they're not going to be super excited to talk to you. Why don't I give you time to settle in? I've got a 6:15. I'll come in then. And they're like, oh, okay. So it's just like meeting your clients where they're at and just trying to remember that the relationship is key. And if you can do that in person, the relationship's going to be much stronger, and they're going to call you when they need insurance on something else, or they want to get their kids insurance. They're not going to just think that you're a random person on the phone.
Yeah. Do you think that you close more, like your close ratio is more in home?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, because people used to just like, I'd be like full blown everything in the app. I did during the Dallas Style Day. I was like, this lady wants it, whatever, had her on the phone, and then the phone kept glitching out. And so she hung up. I tried to call her back 2-3 times, and she answered again, but then it glitched out again. So I called her, and then she was getting annoyed that I kept calling her back. So she just blocked me. She knew
Mm.
she wanted it, was just getting upset with the phone. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, it's so much easier in person. Like, I'm the close ratio, relationship wise, getting bigger numbers. When you just text over a number or tell them the number, it's like, no. But when you have the number on a piece of paper, and then you're like, hey, this is the presidential, this is the standard, this is the starter. And then they're like, oh, I want the presidential. And you go big circle around the presidential. And they're like, wow, like it's a different effect.
Psychological.
Oh
Psychology.
yeah, 100%.
Psychology of the
Eye
sale.
eye contact, being with them. They don't know. I mean, I'm sure you guys like text your friends or hear somebody over the phone and you're like, oh, what did you mean by that? And they're like, oh, I didn't mean that at all.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that happens all the time. So like being with them in person and actually meeting them. And once they let you in their door, it's already a different kind of trust than just answering the phone.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So what's your lead flow right now? What leads do you run?
Okay, so I said I was crazy. So I have an alarm that goes off at 2:01 in the morning, and I buy out all the mortgage leads in Maricopa County because they drop at 2 a.m.
In the
So
CRM?
in the CRM, yeah, I do that every morning. So sometimes 2:30, and I'm like, damn it. But then I do 1 month old. So I only do CRM, and then I do AWL live transfers.
Okay. So majority CRM leads.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I love so much about that, Alicia, is that those are the leads everybody has access to. We all have the same opportunity, guys.
Mhm.
So what we're seeing here is the people that protected, 5 families last month, literally running the exact same leads as the people that did 35 or 40 like you. So, what is kind of like your advice around, like, do people need to go out and get a bunch of expensive leads, or do they just need to buckle down and get the CRM leads and go to work?
I mean, I wouldn't like, there's times that even the live transfers, you're spending like 75 to 150 for one lead, and they might hang up on you or might be like, oh, perfect. Now I have my quote. Bye. So I would say, just find the leads that work for you. I like 1 and 3 month olds. Some people like CP kills the instance, they don't vibe with me for some reason. I like that other people have called them because then they are kind of expecting it. So then I'm like, oh, perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure we get this information out to you so I can close out the file with you in person. They love that for some reason. They're like, oh, close the file. They'll close it now. And I'm like, no, unfortunately, I have to have physical evidence that I went through eligibility. And they're like, oh, okay. So like that's like my line to like always get in the home if they're like annoyed with the calls. I'll make sure that the calls stop as long as we go through eligibility.
I have to have physical evidence that I went through the eligibility. This is like forensic files, dude. You're like a detective and you're like, if this evidence is only circumstantial, we cannot close the file.
100%. But it works. It works. So I like all mortgage and then the 1 month old lives. But yeah, I would say just if you can stick to the CRM, they're so cheap compared to every other lead. And if it's like that one, the 10 family and 1 home guy, that was a 2 month old mortgage. It was $6.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. So Alicia, you've been absolutely phenomenal. I love your mindset on everything because it's so relatable, guys. Like, Alicia she's an amazing person. We love her, but like, she's not doing anything that any of us on this call, there's 75 people on this call, that every single one of us could do that. She runs the same leads we have access to. She has the same schedule. She has as much stuff going on in her life as any one of us would have. So it's like, there's nothing. The only thing separating is you and the process and following it. So Alicia, to kind of close out, and like I said, you've been phenomenal. What is kind of like your advice for any new agents coming in, and this is like their first couple weeks? What do you want to say to them?
I would say like just first of all, like plug into the system at any rate possible. Like watch the people that are, putting their which one is that on, the group me, or did we put that on I always forget. No, the Slack. Like I watched like everybody putting their deposits in. That like fired me up. So like things like that, come to the meetings, go to the trainings, listen to YouTube. Like the first couple of weeks that you're in this first 90 days, forget music, just listen to YouTube trainings. I worked out to them. I did my walks to them. Like there's some major keys in there, and you're going to find people that you really like if you watch all these different trainings on YouTube. And we're all real people. So you can reach out to anybody that you like their training, and they'll be like, oh, hey, or just let them know like that really worked for me, and they love it. And you can connect with other people that are doing really well, not just on our team. So I would say just plug into all the systems that we have available. Find a system that works for you in terms of your schedule. who are your favorite YouTube? She's a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So I just typed in anything that I was doing. So I'm like telesales. So I like loved Erica Walker's stuff. Mortgage, John Wetmore, Eric Schmidt, In Home. I mean, there's so many. And I listened to a bunch of them. A lot of Sean's talks. He's like, for some reason, he just reminds me of like my high school coach and my dad combined. So I listen to his stuff and I get like it's like the what you need to hear, but you might not want to hear kind of stuff. So I listened to a lot of his talks. I listened to the podcast for FFL. So there's a lot of different stuff, not just like the YouTube podcast, like the actual podcast for FFL as a whole. Yeah, you can just type in FFL and then whatever you want to learn and a bunch of trainings will come up. But I would say, yeah, so sorry, plug into the systems, keep on a schedule, eliminate distractions. I got rid of social media for the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks, so that I could really dive into it. Like if you're not going to build a team right away, then you don't really have to stay on socials. Like now you're just wasting your time. So, like I said, get on that schedule, find something that works for you, get on dials and unmute. That's going to be huge. Like get the coaching that you want. Like you have the potential to make so much money here and help so many families. Why not help your own? Like it's really, it's not like super hard, but I would say do all that. Just find a schedule that really works for you, plug into the system, to be honest.
I love it. Well, Alicia, thank you so much, guys. Let's drop some more AAs in the chat right now. But Alicia, thank you so much for getting on with us. You've been absolutely phenomenal. And I just love it because I know so many people are looking up to you. You've been a phenomenal leader for us, and we'll just keep chasing you down and see if the rest of us can protect as many families as you.
No, thank you so much, Marissa. I really appreciate your leadership and mentorship as well. It's been so helpful along the way.
All right, guys, have a good night. And I know we are still have some dial time on the West Coast. So I'll see you guys back on live dials. All right, guys, have a good one.
Bye, y'all.